This is the King of Average.
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 Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the King of Average podcast. How do we somehow always get to like colorblindness jokes every single week?
Because you're colorblind.
Like literally without skipping, period. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the King of Average podcast with your boy Malik and
Baby.
Actually, that was good. Yeah.
Flexing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the King of Average podcast. It's your boy Bibi along with
Malik.
the show in which we help you find your potential through self-reflection. So we all know what America's pastime is, right?
Drink it off, baby.
No, baseball. That was premature.
That was good, bro.
Thank you.
That was good.
So we all know what America's pastime is.
And it's not baseball.
It's baseball.
Oh,
But what's the world's pastime?
soccer.
You guessed it. Pornography.
Wow.
And as per usual, welcome back to another exciting episode, right? With an exciting topic. Today's topic apparently was on Malik's mind. And I agreed. It was actually a really good topic to touch upon.
Yeah, I thought about you when I was thinking about the subject.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So, you guys guessed it. It's going to be about pornography. So, I have not watched porn for about 3 years, going on 4 years. And I texted Bibi today. This is going to be today's conversation because Bibi, you're on the same thing too, right? How long has it been for you?
So I'll be fully transparent. I like to give credit where credit is due. It was just a couple weeks before Ramadan 2 years ago. Cool. So yeah, 2 years ago. And we're sitting there and it was, like I said, a couple weeks before Ramadan and we're chilling. And you were like, man, Ramadan's almost here, huh? That means it's been a whole year since I've quit porn. And some part of me was just like, wow, I'm very proud of my boy. And I'm very upset with myself. So instantly the idea of competition, right? But also kind of like more like the spiritual competition, right? And in the desire to do better for myself, I took that as motivation and I said, bet, right? So alhamdulillah, you're going on to your 4th year. And so I'm coming on to my 3rd year of quitting pornography. And so it was obviously like, it wasn't like that simple conversation is what really changed everything, That simple conversation was just that one push that I needed to finally take flight.
Do you feel like because you weren't doing it alone, that, we kind of helped both? We never really held ourselves accountable, but because I was doing it, you're like, screw it, I'll do it too.
Yeah, 100%.
So in that way, we're like, all right, cool, we're not alone.
Yeah. I think definitely, when we get to like a later part of this conversation and we talk about, creating a support system around you to help you quit, right? To help whoever's really trying, or to help them quit, finding those people who not necessarily will hold each other accountable, but will at least be that source of motivation to want better for themselves and to really, really put in the effort that's required. So yeah, it's definitely a thing where it's like, there is that sense of togetherness.
So
what I mean?
what made you come to that realization that like, I'm just gonna cut this off?
So I
Besides me saying it out loud.
yeah, no, it's a long fight. It's a long battle,
What is it?
Yeah, so it's definitely a long fight. That's why I was saying, like, you telling me that was just the extra push I needed, but I was already on the edge, And I think it's really funny because, you know, it's literally, like I said, it's literally a long battle. It's a long fight. And you're talking about, you know, every single time you fall for the same mistake, correct me if I'm wrong, even if you experience it or not, you're like, this is the last time. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And then you find yourself, you know, in the same ditch, right? Going down the same rabbit hole. Or you're like, you know, I know what's better for me. I know I need to quit. Or you even tell yourself, I know I'm not addicted. How many times would you have that conversation with yourself?
I was too proud to admit it.
Right? I'm not addicted. I can quit anytime I want.
Nah, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I
had nothing better to do. I was on the clock. I used to work remote, chill.
What? Chris, when I saw you in the video.
What? Oh. Yeah, the pride thing, the ego thing, and you know, I always like to convince myself that, like, especially with bad habits,
Such as?
right, especially with bad habits, I would always convince myself, like, dude, like, if I wanted to stop it, I would. And I'll tell you what, for the most part, I'm actually pretty good at that, cutting things off cold turkey. But the thing is that's my style, though.
But porn is a silent addiction, right? Basically meaning that, like, you watch it a couple times, and eventually your body's like, all right, I got the urge to release some, you know, some stress, or I'm in some sort of like mood, right? To just relieve myself. What better way to add on to this experience than to watch some porn?
Like, how convenient is it?
Oh, it's convenient. As long as you have Wi-Fi, you have 5G, you have LTE or anything else, as long as you have some sort of connectivity, you're chilling. You can do it on your you can do it anything. Legit. So, like, the convenience part is a killer because it's always on you at all times. So you know that any moment, if you want, you have the free will to watch it at any place at any time. That is what's tricky about it. Because, yeah, we set our own, like, boundaries. It's not like we'd be out in public and be like, oh, dude, this is my best scene. Like, no, it would mostly just be out of shame for ourselves. It's not something that we all, like, none of us really bragged about watching porn, right? We would never go up to ourselves and be like, dude, that was crazy. We never really talk about it. We just kind of hush. We always just kind of keep it to ourselves. Like, we'd never really brag about watching porn because really, if you watch porn, it's nothing to brag about. Because what I started noticing in myself is how perverted I started to become, right? Not in the sense of like jokes and like mindless stuff, right? But it's more like, so then teaches us very simply to like lower our gaze. I found myself having an actual struggle to lower my gaze. And now I had a game plan because I actually knew what was going on or what they did in those videos. So I had some sort of an idea what to do. So, like,
you start creating in like thoughts in like pictures in your head.
Correct.
You would do.
So check it out. So I'd check someone out. You start creating that image, that scenario. And then you're like, right after, assuming that you don't do nothing about it, you get home after a long day, ding, and it nags at you over and over again. You're like, okay, why not? So that's the whole silent thing, because it's just like an ongoing thing. It's like it's like an instructional video. You view it and then you do it. You view it and then you do it. At least you create it in your mind, right? So, like, that was a thing that I did not like at all, because besides the fact of like the whole like post-nut clarity of just feeling just absolutely disgusted and like, what the hell did I just do? And we obviously know it's wrong. It's not like, you know, frowned down upon or anything else. There's no like gray area in that. It's straight up just no. You know what I'm saying? So, like, with that, every single time I noticed myself, like, for Ramadan and only Ramadan, I would spend that whole month just not doing anything whatsoever, right? Not even without the videos, just at all. You know what I'm saying? Like no fap. So like I noticed myself doing it for one Ramadan in particular, and I was like, all right, Ramadan's over. Let's continue this. Let's see how long I can last without porn specifically. 1 month, 2 months after Ramadan, 6 months after Ramadan, 1 year after Ramadan, I was like, yo, Ramadan's here. I can't believe it's been over a year. And then from there, it's like, let's keep it going, right? And you start finding some sort of like pride and like an accomplishment that like this was once controlling me, and now it's, I don't care for it at all. So it's a beautiful thing to overcome, and it's one of those things where like you just got to do. It's gonna be that internal struggle, but you have to find that reason. So like for any of like the like if anyone's Muslim watching this, right? My recommendation is choosing Ramadan, right? Besides the fact that just cut it as soon as possible, but we all need a reason why to stop something or a reason why to do something, right? So like my why was Ramadan. I was like, there's no freaking way in the holiest month of the year I'm going to be doing such a filthy act, right? There is no freaking way. Like watching porn is already low. Watching porn like during Ramadan is just hell. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up in my mind. So I created that sort of like bound, like that level of like, I don't ever want to reach that. So I used Ramadan as a reason for me to stop, which subhanAllah, typically Ramadan is a reason for many people to like cut a lot of bad habits, to start new habits. So it's one of those things where I use Ramadan to then benefit myself and benefit my life. And alhamdulillah, man, that was my whole mindset behind cutting.
You mentioned the guilt, so I wanted to go over a couple things that is kind of like at this point it's pretty well known, right? How
it makes us feel and stuff.
Yeah, how porn has like the effects porn has on people, and specifically one of the things mentioned was guilt. I know this is something that we discussed kind of like on our own. Was the idea of how you seriously just feel like a piece of crap. But it's very interesting because it's specifically the post-nut clarity after having watched porn.
Yeah. It's immediate.
It takes you to a deeper level of guilt and disgust, right? And so it says, there's a lot of studies that show that basically it can lead to guilt, shame, low self-esteem. It contributes to depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders, right? And so it's funny to think about because, a lot of things that hold people back from being achievers in their own lives, right? Is the sense of guilt from something that happened in their life. It's the sense of shame from them not feeling like they're good enough, right? The depression because of them not, being good enough, or them not achieving certain things, certain accolades at some point in their life, right? And it's like, that's just natural negative hurdles that come up to our mind naturally.
Yep.
Every single day.
Yep.
Right?
At random moments.
And those are already hurdles that we need to overcome.
Yep.
Right? And so now when you throw in porn as part of your routine, it doesn't just present those things, but now it presents them to a much, much deeper sensation. So imagine, like, if someone's going through a rough time and they're just like, yeah, I don't know why I have low self-esteem, blah, 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 XYZ, yada, yada, right? Whatever insecurities that already exist within the person, and it could be something as simple as like, a few words of affirmation, a quick talk, hyping them up, giving them motivation, whatever the case is, just being positive around them. And they might be able to lift themselves out of it.
You are big. Big.
That applies in so many ways
to many people.
But when you go and you add the low self-esteem, the guilt, and the shame after having watched porn, it's not just a simple hurdle that one may be able to overcome. It now becomes a much larger obstacle. And so it requires much more for them to undo just in order for them to be back at ground level in order to continue moving forward.
So just as porn amplifies your experience in a positive way, right? And in that kind of ecstasy that you kind of get out through it, it also amplifies all those insecurities, negative thoughts that you get too. It's only amplifying. So it's like a double-edged sword. But you're only screwing yourself over. Like you're not really benefiting yourself. If anything, you're going to benefit yourself for what? 5 minutes? Maybe. But then the aftermath of it all, you're ruined for the rest of your day. And it's going to linger on to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. And then as you're just constantly just adding on, you're just digging yourself a ditch. And people are like, why am I feeling so low? Why am I feeling so crap? Like crap, I mean. Like, it makes sense. You got to pinpoint where a lot of your insecurities fall under.
You mentioned earlier that you kind of like have those moments where it's like 6 months, 1 year into it, you really start to kind of like recognize like how far you've come.
Yes.
After having quit.
Celebrate the small dubs.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because the effects of pornography and the way they trigger a large release of dopamine in your brain, it literally is like, by the book, it's compared to the same release of dopamine as if you were, addicted to substances.
Like a substance.
Or even gambling, right? It has that same effect, right? And so similarly, what's really, really cool about it is when somebody gets off of a substance, right? They really start to celebrate the 1 year, the 2 years, right? And that motivates them to continue moving forward.
Yeah.
And so similarly, exactly the same way. Like you said, find those small dubs in the 6 months, in the 1 year, and allow that to be the motivation. Because like, alhamdulillah, 2 years later, it literally just got to a point where not even 2 years later, I remember even after the first year, I think after the first year, I wouldn't even say it was a struggle because, like I said, for me, cutting things out cold turkey works. I'm not saying it works for everybody.
It works for you.
It works for me, right? And to be honest with you, it's kind of just it's a tough pill to swallow. You have that tough conversation with yourself. Yo, you need to put yourself on check ASAP. And I can tell myself, all right, cool, let's do this. And so, within the first year, when I noticed myself really kind of just being okay with it and really being able to get off of it, after the first year, I was like, this is the lifestyle now. This is it. And I'll be honest with you, there were some close calls. But alhamdulillah, I just found myself, being able to just stop right then and there and then just not going back. And so it's not just about celebrating yourself for the time that you've been away from such a, disgusting addiction. But it's one of those things where part of that motivation is just telling yourself, this is part of my identity now. You always like to talk about identity.
Yeah.
This is a part of me now. I am no longer a person who is addicted to pornography. And it just keeps you going.
Now I got a question. Do you think that pornography links to the high divorce rates? Or is at least some sort of like a factor to the high divorce rates today?
I think it's, I know you're asking the question almost like in a rhetorical sense.
No, I mean, curious. It has some sort of correlation.
There is definitely a correlation. There's definitely a correlation. And I think there is a certain level of sickness when couples watch pornography together in order to kind of like help them with, their own intimate life. But that's a whole separate conversation. But definitely. And it's also really, really sad to see when like people, like close friends who get married and they're like, dude, I don't know what it is. I'm it's almost like the addiction has gotten worse. Yeah, there was somebody. I'm not really too connected with that person now, but I remember when he said that, I was just like I felt horrible for him and for his wife, obviously. And I was just like, yeah, like there's no way like this is healthy, and there's no way this is gonna last long. And guess what? It didn't work out, right? But I mean, you could just go by the reason why I was saying like it's a rhetorical question is because studies show exactly that. You know, I don't know if there's like a specific number that I have saved, but definitely a lot of it has to because here's the thing. Let's be realistic, right? What is the purpose, especially as like Muslims, right? What is one of the main purposes for getting married?
Fulfill your desires.
Absolutely, to satisfy your needs in a manner that does not displease God. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? And so imagine if you're unable to fulfill your needs, right? After having secured that covenant with a person, you're unable to fulfill your needs. Do you think it's going to be a healthy marriage moving forward? Absolutely not.
Because you gotta keep on comparing.
You're going to keep on comparing, and then this is where things get scary. Because of that large release of dopamine that you get from watching pornography, you become desensitized over time. You know? And so similar to how they say, you know, marijuana is the gateway drug for crazier things, right? What ends up happening? A person smokes weed once, it goes crazy. They get hella high, they lose control of themselves. It's hilarious, it's a good time, whatever, they feel great. A couple weeks later, they need a little bit more to reach that same level. A little bit later, they literally have to be smoking all day and they still won't reach that same level.
Tolerance.
So then what do they need to do? They need to go to the next thing that's stronger, right? That causes their body to have a crazier reaction. Because at the end of the day, what is it? Your body's trying to reject it. In the process of rejecting it, it's gonna go wild until eventually you either consume so much that your body can no longer fight it off, or your body does build that tolerance to where you need the next strong thing, right? And so the sad reality of life is what? Whatever we see in pornographic films will never actually be the reality of intimacy.
Yep.
It will never reach that same level. And the sadder reality of it, because, you know, welcome to the world of, you know, interviewing and podcasting and everything. How many porn stars have gone out to say that industry has ruined, you know, the stars of that industry mentally and physically as well? They're not even enjoying it. Imagine that, right? Imagine that. It's absolute sad reality. So it's like, here you have this vision, this dream, this pornographic film that literally you cannot attain the same level that they're attaining, which, by the way, they're not even enjoying, right? You can't attain that in real life. And you're addicted to watching it. So when you go back to your significant other and you're getting nowhere near that same satisfaction, you're going to start what? You're going to start finding ways to find that satisfaction. And it's not going to be with your partner.
And you're going to hold a resentment towards your partner. Like, oh man, I didn't pick the right one. She's just not fulfilling me anymore.
Right.
I'm not happy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is just not doing it anymore.
Which is going to lead you to?
Yeah, to cheating or to I mean, worst case scenario, cheating. But then to also just watching porn.
You mean, worst case scenario. I was going to say best case scenario, cheating.
What?
It can get wild, bro.
Yeah.
Some people got crazy stories.
Wow.
Yeah. But whatever.
I didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. But whatever the case is. And so I want to transition from that into kind of what have you experienced now that you're over 3 years away from that?
I'll answer it.
And we'll start, if you need help answering, I don't know if you need help, but like if you need help answering, we'll start with that whole idea of maybe we were desensitized to a certain degree before and how we are now.
I want to answer it, but I also do want to add one more thing to the whole marriage and watching porn, right? I'm going to go to the extent of saying watching porn while you're married is a form of cheating.
I like that.
I'm going to go to that extent.
I like that.
You're going to, just as your wife is jealous over you and doesn't want you to be lustful over other women because you should be lustful over her, why are you then in your own privacy, sneaking away
To find intimacy.
to find that, to watch that intimacy? You're watching two random people doing it. So I'm going to go to that extreme of saying like, that is straight up cheating on your spouse. I really don't care how other people may think. Maybe there could be other like viewpoints like, oh, like it could be worse. It could be actually cheating on my spouse and so on. But you're basically watching that. You're receiving that lust from that. So I really wanted to add that on because I'm a firm believer of that. And there's no way I think a healthy marriage should be revolving around porn, like at all.
No, I mean, well, to add on to that, the reason why that makes sense to me is because, with intimacy, there is no doubt like an emotional attachment that is created, right? And never mind the conversation about, through intimacy, women find emotional attachment or men usually don't. Forget that whole conversation. The reality of the situation is even men, when there is a level of intimacy that is achieved, like that feeling that is achieved through intimacy, there is a part within that man that loves that feeling. If that feeling is attached to a person, if that feeling is attached to something else, whatever the case is, that level of satisfaction causes an emotional attachment, even for men, right? And so, absolutely. When I find a significant other and I call that person mine, the way I see it is that my loyalty with that individual is so strong. And out of respect for that loyalty, I would never try to find ways to find that satisfaction except through that individual. And then vice versa. Why? Because once again, like I said, there is emotion that's attached to the intimacy, right? And in order for me to maintain a healthy marriage, I would want my emotions that's attached to intimacy only to be attached to that one individual.
Correct.
And vice versa.
Correct. So whenever you think lust, you automatically think your wife.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think porn. You don't think anything else. Next time you see a beautiful woman out in the street, and assuming that you're married at that point, and then all those thoughts started to like build up, you train your body, you train your mind to think of your wife.
Mm-hmm.
So even if it could be a beautiful woman out there, you'll be like, I miss my wife right now. You want to train yourself to that. You don't want to give yourself some sort of like option towards lust, because lust can lead you down a very like dark path.
And that's actually funny how you said option, because that's actually one of the scariest things about porn. And it's actually even one of the scary things that really makes me hate the idea of dating apps as well. It's the idea of options. It's the idea of options. It's the idea that, whether, through watching porn or through dating apps, you literally have a selection. You have a selection in which you go through, and you only select the one that you're most attracted to, or the one that looks best. You know what I mean? When that's furthest from the truth, right? There is no organic situation in which you will meet someone, right, who will be a significant person in your life through a process of a selection, the way it's presented in either pornography or through dating apps, right? And so it kind of like, the reason why the options freaks me out is because it trains the mind. Once again, it trains the mind to get you used to the idea that I'm not going to stop until I found the one that I want. And then even then, even then, you have the one that you want momentarily, and then you start having FOMO. What if the next one's better? Right? What if the next one's better? Maybe if I keep swiping, I'm gonna find a different girl who's prettier. You know what I mean?
It's like gambling, bro. You're a slot machine. You just keep on
keep on going, hoping to hit the jackpot.
Yep.
But then even after you hit the jackpot, you're like, you know what? Maybe I can make more money.
I'm feeling lucky.
I can keep going again. The idea of options, if you train your mind to have options, you will be a very, very disappointed person for the rest of your life.
I know that was like a little bit of like a tangent away from pornography, even though it kind of correlated a little bit.
No, it completely correlates.
But I do want to move on to that question that you asked me.
Absolutely.
Right? So you asked me the question, let me rephrase it. What was the aftermath?
The benefits of quitting.
I've always been a pretty confident guy for the most part of my life. I become more confident in my abilities, specifically my self-control. Me cutting off porn was just like many other men or many other people in general. It was a very tough decision, and it was not easy, right? It wasn't like I just woke up one day and be like, I don't need it anymore, and just pull my phone away and just never touch it again. We'd always try and it always failed. The aftermath of it is, I'm like, if I can cut such a addicting substance in my life, such as porn, then what else can I do? So just as I was saying, like keep that momentum going, right? Of like the whole like celebrate your small dubs. You keep that momentum. Like I cut that off, and here are all the benefits of it. What else can I achieve? I've achieved such a difficult task because we both know cutting porn is dang near impossible. It's very, very, very difficult, man. You know? What else can I do? I did that before. I've done it. I'm doing it. What else can I do? What else can I benefit from? So that gives you more self-confidence overall. So that's what I mean by the confidence part of me, self-control. I'm able to that. Second, honestly, I started viewing women better.
I want to add on to the confidence before you move on to the next one.
Sure.
Another thing that I saw when it comes down to confidence is, and I don't know if like, whatever the case is, this is how I see it in my mind. It helped boost my confidence because I was I'm very proud to be a person who has quit pornography. And so in a way, it raises my value as an individual because of the self-control, because of, not being desensitized, because of, being able to go through something and having quit it, you know what I mean? And not looking back, and whatever the case is, I feel like it's raised my value as, an option in the dating marketplace, So that is one of the reasons why I felt like it was definitely a boost of confidence. But yeah, continue.
Solid, man. But I was going on to talk about how like I started to view women differently. I started to view women with way more respect than I already had, right? Like, unfortunately, when you watch porn, you really start to objectify women very, very quickly because you have a game plan. Because the whole porn industry is basically you're objectifying the man and the woman that are both in that video.
I mean, let's be realistic. In most pornography, it's like the woman is submissive to the man.
Correct.
So, what else are we supposed to think of?
It's a fantasy that that all men want, right? We all want that freak, right? We all want that woman that's a good, but she has to be a freak, but then she also has to be a very good, pious, good person. You know what I'm saying? We all want that. Submissive, etc., 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 etc. But then it's like, in real life, as you're saying, like how some couples, they try to reach that pinnacle with each other. that it's unachievable. So it's like your wife saying that like she wants you as a man like to earn a certain amount, to earn like an outrageous amount, to be always having a six pack, to have like always having hair on your head. You know, say like balding is no such thing, and you know this and that and that stuff that are like it's like unattainable. It's almost like an impossible level to reach. You're basically doing that to your wife, right? With regards to performance, with regards to body parts, and it not being good enough as the other person because the other person has it better than her. But like you're automatically digging yourself into a freaking deep ditch because you keep on comparing. My wife doesn't do this. She doesn't do that. She doesn't do this. She doesn't do that. She doesn't do this. You always start thinking about only the negatives about your spouse. And then for the women that do watch porn, shame. But like, like they start comparing too. You know what I'm saying? Because porn is not only watched by men. You know what I'm saying? Especially in 2023, a lot of women watch porn too. You know what I'm saying? They get equally as much pleasure out of it as well. You're selling a dream. It's like Disney is to marriage, right? That Prince Charming comes and, you know, walks away with Cinderella and just lives happily ever after. That's how porn is. Everything you ever want in that most intimate, desired, like experience, which is sex, you're able to see it and almost experience it. But then once you put away that video and you go to your wife and it's nowhere near where that is, you're like, all right, let me go put on my VR real fast. Let me go back to like that perfect world, that utopia. It's such a downward spiral. But I mean, downward spiral. Besides the fact of if you do it enough, constantly, you do have the risk of getting ED at an early age. You know what I'm saying? Like, God forbid any of us gets erectile dysfunction. Regardless of whether we're 28 now, and regardless of we're freaking like 90 or 100. You know what I'm saying? Like, God forbid. I can't even imagine like me not being able to me losing that ability. Like, God freaking forbid. And I might have to take like pills for it and certain, you know, things or remedies just to try to fix such a natural thing.
You know what's crazy?
That scares me, dude.
You know, that's actually one of the very few valid reasons why like in Islam, like a woman could ask for a divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I say very few is because like in Islamic culture, it definitely isn't like obviously women have the right to ask for a divorce, but it really has to be under certain circumstances.
Yeah.
And one of those circumstances is definitely that. But yeah, so the desensitization, that's definitely like that's definitely gone away. It's definitely gone away. And I definitely prefer it that way. I prefer it that way because, you know, I think it would just make it easier to be able to
enjoy your spouse.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the time, the moments with your
The intimacy, the passion, you know, that's not going to be missing, you know?
And you have nothing to compare it to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What a beautiful thing. Long-term effects that I've noticed, I think it's definitely just, I really love to highlight just the fact that like, you know, the guilt is not there. The shame is not there. You know, we talk about like the confidence and stuff, but the guilt and the shame, the way it translates into other areas of your life, it can't let you move forward properly because you always have like this cloud in your mind, you know? It's like, even when like you get busy enough or things are going well and whatever the case is, some part of you is always just sitting there with the thought in the back of your head, like, damn, I don't deserve this. Like, damn, I'm actually a piece of crap person. Nobody knows, you know? And once again, I mean, even if a person is like, you know, addicted to porn, you still need to figure out ways to not believe that, But I mean, hey, dude, how about finding a way to not have those thoughts come up? You know,
Rough.
right? Right? Facts, though, right? And I think also what's really, really nice is really the ability to have a like a deeper spiritual connection. You know,
Okay, let's go to that.
let's do it.
Once I cut porn, I started to get way closer to my religion.
Mm-hmm.
I started to want to focus about the Quran, the Hadith, teachings of every. Like, I actually was interested in that.
And you could focus better on your prayer.
I felt some sort of shame, like I was not almost good enough
Mm-hmm.
to learn, to be a pious Muslim, because I was doing such a filthy act.
Yeah.
I was doing such a repulsive thing in the eyes of God. So it held me back from wanting it because of like the whole guilt. And I also, Islam really preaches the whole thing of repentance. Just because you did something and you do it again doesn't mean that you should stop repenting. I felt guilty for asking God for repentance, knowing dang right that I'm probably going to be doing it the next day. I felt I was over being shameful, you know what I'm saying, to myself. Because for any other reason in my life, I don't feel shame. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least I don't view like past experiences with like shame and stuff like that. Or even if it was shameful for whatever experience or embarrassing or blah, 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 right, that I've ever gone through, I don't really think back at it much and I let it linger. Porn, it lingered. Just like that thought of like, oh, you should do it. Oh, you're going to feel so good. Dopamine, that dopamine rush. You're like, let me get that real fast. That negativity just kept on building up and building up and building up. That pressure, that anxiety eventually starts crushing you as an individual, right? So it definitely, and that's where like it built my confidence. I don't need this anymore. I could be a better Muslim. And then, of course, the whole thought of like, if I die right now, what am I going to tell God? Hey, God, I know what I was doing was wrong. I know it. It's not that I was like completely just oblivious to it. I didn't know. I can't say that. It's clearly wrong. And I clearly know what I'm doing is wrong. But I keep on doing it and I cannot stop. That was scary to me. Because it was like, how the heck do I know, like, I'm such a hypocrite. I know what I'm doing is wrong, and I keep on doing it over and over and over and over again. And the more I do it, the more crap I feel. Yeah, you become desensitized, and eventually, one thing doesn't do it, and then, you're 2 videos, 3 videos, 4, 5 videos, and you're like, dude, what the heck is going on? It's completely a waste of your time. It's a waste of your mental capacity. Like, what your mind can only store so much. Imagine just if you just store it with something more beneficial, like religion, or like self-help, or like, anything else besides freaking porn. So like, I think long term, it freed up a lot of like that mental capacity of mine, and I just burnt it. I threw in the trash bin, and I just deleted all of it. And that just extra storage in my mind was just open. And from there, it's up to you guys who finally decide to quit porn to then fill that void, or fill that, I'd say that void, empty space with more beneficial things in your life.
Yeah. Definitely over time, it really helps you develop a more meaningful spiritual connection with God. And then even more meaningful connections with other people, with your family and stuff like that. And what I think is really, really cool, and this is kind of like, part of the Islamic teachings overall, but it's just, back to the concept of like self-control, what I think is really, really awesome is just the idea that because we're no longer chasing such a desire, such an unattainable dream, it really allows us to follow in our actions, you know, to where we're no longer, I'm gonna say no longer as if we did before, but we're not chasing, the thing that's going to give us a stimulation, right? We really have that self-control to where we're not pushing ourselves onto others, putting other people in a situation and we're trying to manipulate them in order so we can get something that we're looking for. Yeah, cool stuff, dude. Cool stuff. But I wanted to switch the conversation over now to how would you recommend someone who's like, all right, cool, I really want to quit. I really want to quit now. How would you recommend that to someone?
Start small. Start off with a week. You can do a week. We all can do a week. And just go from there. 1 week, 7 days, turns into 8 days. You're like, oh, wow, dude, I can't believe I lasted 8 days without watching porn. That 8 days turns into 2 weeks. That 2 weeks turns into a month. And then go on and on and on until, and it's also habits as well. Because like, whenever you take a shower, you're like, screw it. Let me just do that. I'm going to take a shower regardless. Might as well watch some porn, right? Replace that habit where whenever you do something, you have to do something before you do that, before you take a shower, for example. So you're only enabling that certain action. So my advice would be to change up your habits, to change up some of like your routines when you're going to be in that mood. And then the simplest thing is just cut it for at least like a week. Try it a week. If you're just doing it every day or every other day, if you're watching it every other day, you're going to be proud. If it's been 1 week, you're like, dude, I would have never thought I would be able to like last 1 week without porn. That's a dub. Even if you like on that week, you cut it, you break that cycle and you go back to it. At least now you know in yourself, I lasted a week. I wonder how much longer I can last. And then the less you guys do it, the less you guys view it, eventually it's like, I don't need it. You take a shower and that small little thought comes into your mind. You're like, nah, I'm chilling.
Let's start on that again.
Your GoPro is like, nah, I'm chilling. You start thinking like, nah, I'm chilling. I don't need it. So start off with a week and go from there. You'll really be surprised with the sense of accomplishment that you have.
I think it's also really important to really start cutting out the little things that stimulate you, the little things that cause you to eventually grow the desire to head in that direction.
Like, what the hell are we, freaking animals? We have no self-control? Seriously. Like, we literally don't have no self-control, and we're going to let something control us?
Yeah.
Are we really that low of individuals, of human beings?
Yeah, so the like an example of cutting out the things that stimulate you, let's be real, dude. TikTok is full of anything and everything. And the number one thing that TikTok really started with was dancing. And it very, very quickly turned into twerking. You know what I mean? And, you have all these different girls who want to really present their beauty by doing a new trendy dance or whatever the case is. You need to figure out how to eliminate those, because even the smallest stimulus from those videos can once again lead you down that path to go back to that habit. So like, it's just one of those things where you really have to, like, you gotta like make sure that your algorithms know not to show you that stuff, right? And alhamdulillah, I know you've talked about this before, and it's the same thing for me. It's like, the moment I see it come up, I immediately just I just swipe up to the next one.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not having this. There's no way, you know? And I'm pretty proud where it's like, if you go through like my Instagram, my TikTok,
You're like, here you go, watch it.
yeah, if you go through it, none of that's going to come up. None of that's going to come up. I know the gym is also a very, very difficult one because the gym is definitely a place that has a lot of stimulus, you know? If you go to college, that's very difficult as well because it's a lot of stimulus, you know? And it makes sense that, you know, we were able to quit after college, right? But you really have to, you know, once again, going back to, if you are in a public setting to where you're just surrounded a lot by, like, you know, people dressed a certain way, control your gaze, lower your gaze. If you, like, you don't need to look at something to know it's in that direction. You know what I mean? From the corner of your eye, you can see it. We got peripheral vision. We get it, you know? More often than not, you know you're going to the gym, you know you're going to see something stimulating, right? So get into that setting and try to figure out, let me just either focus on the ground, see where I'm walking, and just not have my eyes wander. And if it really, really is difficult for you to control yourself, go to the park and work out. Go do some push-ups and lunges, some squats, do some sprints, jog around, do some pull-ups, whatever the case is, go get your workout somewhere else. You don't need to be in an environment like that, you know? So don't create that excuse for yourself. Oh, it's everywhere. Figure out how to minimize it. Really, really do. Because like I said, the less stimulus that you're going to have, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to not find yourself in a situation where you're like, fudge, I'm really in the mood right now.
Yeah, so that's how I was.
And then also to add on, find that support system. Find those people around you, right?
True.
If you're surrounded by people who are addicted to porn, it's that time, dude. Change your circle, you know? Or be the initiator. If you think they're genuinely good people and they want the best for themselves and for you, be the initiator. Be like, yo, we have a problem. We need to fix this together, and we can fix this together.
Sometimes you got to take the lead.
Take lead. Absolutely. Find your support system. That one person, the group of people who are just like, we know this is wrong, and we need to do everything possible to cut it out.
And that's the whole point of like a support group. For us, it's the boys. You know, like, we're able to hold ourselves accountable. If we're slipping up, best believe Vivi's going to come up to me and be like, yo, you're messing up. Best believe I'm going to be going up to Vivi and be like, yo, you're messing up about anything in life. So, like, hold each other accountable because you are who you hang out with. So if you're around a whole bunch of, like, dudes that are, like, weak, you're going to be weak. Regardless of how strong you are, or how strong you may think that you are, you're going to be weak, right? Show your friends, I'll show you your future. That's exactly it. If you have weak friends, you're going to be weak. My dad says with his broken English, if you hang out with trash, you will eventually be trashy.
I love that. Yeah, it's a fact.
Such a simple thing, bro.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm not trash. I don't want to hang out with trash. Simple as that, dude. So, like, find your support group. So, like, that support system, that's such a great important point because, like, you're not alone. When I did it and I brought it up, and I did it for myself, right? And I wasn't bragging about it. I just happened to be like, oh, wow, it's been a year.
It was literally that, yeah.
That's just all it was. From me simply saying that, that inspired you to some point to be like, I've been wanting to stop. This is my sign. I'm not alone. And, you know, saying, like, I got Medic to, like, not to thank, but, like, I got Medic to, like, yo, like, to hold me accountable in a way. Like, Medic's not doing it. Why can't I do it? Like, the whole competitive nature to it. Why can't I do it? Medic is better than me? No, he's not. I could do it too. So, with that said, cut porn out of your life. It's going to ruin your life. It's going to ruin your relationships. It's going to ruin your confidence. Cut that crap out of your life, dude. You're freaking you're not missing out on anything. You're only going to gain everything from it. So, I mean, with that said, dude, wrap it up.
I think it's safe to close off.
Let's do it, dude. So this was another exciting episode of the King of Average podcast. This is Medic and
BB.
And once again, shout out Creative House. That's Creative Haus for editing our videos. For all of your content creation / editing needs, please search them up. It's Creative House Haus on Instagram. I'm sure they have a website. And just shout out them, dude.
And if you benefited from this video, or if you enjoyed any bit of it, we would really appreciate a thumbs up. Send us a subscribe, and then comment down below.
Yeah, and just comment maybe a point of another point of for quitting, right? Or maybe like another thing that you guys may have done that we didn't mention that stopped you guys from watching porn.
Or comment how long you've quit porn.
Yeah, or just watch it. Maybe just DM us. Be like, yo, how can I stop? We'll be your freaking support group.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, baby.
No, why not, dude?
We'll flipping hand out medals and everything.
Let's go, dude. We're the 4 viewers, bro. Let's freaking go, dude. Well, just like that.
Hell yeah.
Peace.